Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talking Out Loud. I've recently actually listened back to one of my intros from a previous pod and realised that my intros are long. So I'm going to try and keep this relatively brief, but this is the start of Malawi season. This is the first of 5 coming straight out of Malawi. And for those of you who aren't aware, Malawi is a Central African country neighbouring Mozambique, Zambia and Tanzania. It's a gorgeous place. I was out there for a month in January, helping out Henry Kajiranje, of course star of episode 25. So do listen back to that one if you want to get a bit of a feel for the work I was doing out there. But this one is all about Temwa. Now Temwa is an organisation set up and founded by Jo Hook, a lady who I met about a year and a half ago, and over a drunken night ended up doing a wrestling match, all in the name of Temwa. So very persuasive lady and a great woman. So on her advice, she said, yeah, if you're out in Malawi, do go and see the kind of work we do out there. So I took her up on that offer. This one comes from the Mzuzu Coffee Den, and I had the great pleasure of talking to Dr. Peter Chinoko, the CEO of Temwa Malawi, and Kondwani Banthu, who is the program manager, the man who coordinates all of Temwa's activities across Malawi, including all their agricultural and forestry programs, their health and their education programs. So a little on Temwa before we jump into it. They've been established since 2003, and from initially supporting a small community of around 2,000, they've continued to grow. And actually now today they work with around 45,000 people across the Inkatha Bay North region of Malawi. Do check out their website. It's really well put together site actually. Great organisation to get involved with, do some incredible experiences and fundraising activities. So do reach out. I'm actually an ambassador for them, so of course I'm going to be plugging them. Following on from this conversation, I actually went out to see some of the projects in person, and I've got to say I'm blown away by the way they operate. I think the kind of model they're trying to employ as a charity organisation is quite an inspirational one and a really healthy one going forward. So hats off to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and do enjoy this fascinating conversation with 2 extraordinary gentlemen in Peter and Kondwani. Just as a little taster after introing the incredible work that Temwa are doing out in Malawi, Peter then tells us a little bit about his history as a Malawian freedom fighter, his studies in the Vatican, so quite some tales to tell, and Kondwani has stories for days. Yeah, really hope you like this. Play it. So hello and welcome again to another recording with me, George Cressy. I'm here in Malawi, in Mzuzu, in the Mzuzu Coffee Den, with 2 remarkable gentlemen from the organisation of Temwa. I will let you guys introduce yourselves shortly. To give a little bit of background, Temwa is a Malawian organisation focusing on agriculture and forestry, health, water sanitation in the Inkatha Bay North area. It's been set up by Jo Hook back in the UK, back in Bristol, who I know quite well. So we'll try and get her on the pod later on. But for now, if I can, Peter, could you start? Just a little introduction about who you are and how you got to know Temwa.
Yeah, I'm Peter Chinoko, and I joined Temwa in October 2017. And honestly, I didn't know Temwa before, but one day I just bought this weekend paper, and there was the whole full-page advert, advertising for the CEO. And that's when for the first time I went to the website, and then I really read about the wonderful and remarkable things that Temwa does in one of the most harsh environments in northern Malawi, very hard to reach as well as very remote, but with excellent programs. So I've basically clocked 1 year, and I think we're making a change in people's lives, and I'm happy in Temwa.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Inkatha Bay North is, you say, very difficult, very inaccessible.
Yes.
Why is it so difficult to get to?
Inkatha Bay North has a very special topography. in the sense that there is like one single earth road that goes round the highlands. So there are a lot of hills and mountains. It's a distance from Zuzu to Nkata Bay is only about 67 miles, but it takes the fastest time you can get to Sisia would be like 2 hours.
No.
Yes.
Yeesh.
So that can give you a flavor of what the road to Sisia is like.
Okay.
And then communities along the lakeshore area, we actually use a boat to reach the various communities along the lakeshore, because there is no road that connects one community to the other.
Wow.
So as Temwa, the boat is also a very viable means of transport that really connects us to the people that we serve.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then Kondwani, I know we've already done 15 minutes of you talking to me already, Kondwani, but if you could just summarise again your role in Temwa and how long you've been with the company.
Yes, my name is Kondwani Banthu. I work as a programs manager for Temwa. As I mentioned, I joined Temwa in 2016 November on Thursday.
Yes.
7:15 in the morning. Yes, my key roles. I coordinate program activities, both in the highlands, in the upland, as well as in the lakeshore. Our key programs are agriculture and forestry, health, including water and sanitation, but also education. It has been really wonderful working for Temwa. There are a lot of efforts that Temwa has made since 2016 up to now in trying to improve the lives of people in line with its core values and principles. So yeah, I've really liked working with Temwa since 2014, and we're looking forward to continue changing the lives of people in the next few years.
Perfect. Could you, I know again we're just going to repeat what we went through already, but if you could give just the listeners a bit of an idea in terms of the population, and also if you could recap again on the agriculture piece.
Okay. The area that we cover, which is in Nkata Bay North, according to 2016-2017 report on Malawi population, Nkata Bay North had about 55 to 60,000 people, of which most of this population benefits from our different programs that we implement. As I mentioned, under health and agriculture and forestry, we are looking at 4 key areas. So area number 1 is supporting the sustainable agricultural farmers, and area number 2 is improving economic activities of the small households that we're working with. Then area number 3 is promoting the natural resource and environment of the area. And then area number 4 is local governance in terms of responding to all the relevant developmental issues in Nkata Bay North. So these are the 4 key areas that we're looking at in terms of agriculture and forestry program. If we look at each area in terms of sustainable agriculture farmers, we have worked with about 1,023, those that we have actually trained and supported them with the materials. We are looking at how these sustainable agriculture farmers are able to adopt the sustainable methods of cultivation. So most of them are interested in manure production, but also agroforestry practices.
I see, yes.
And then they are also interested in using the different natural or crops that have been in existence.
Perfect.
So that they are able to increase their production at the household level.
I see. And so the agroforestry and the manure, well, as we were talking, it's to increase the biodiversity in the soil.
Yes.
So actually to make it more fertile in the long run, as opposed to using fertilizer, which
Yes.
is
And as Temwa, we have really focused on promoting the organic manure production. Because it is in line with what the government of Malawi is promoting sustainable agriculture practices. So when you look at some of the practices in sustainable agriculture, there is no use of inorganic fertilizer. So that's an advantage for us, because we want to look at sustainability in terms of the quality of the soils, that the local farmers can use them for a longer period.
Perfect.
And then still increase their production.
I see. So I guess it's trying to get ahead of the curve already. So these farmers, maybe in the short term, it will be difficult, but in the long term, if they are on trend with the government policy, I guess.
Yes.
Fascinating. And so what I wanted to also talk about was, so the manure production, is that animal manure? So I guess what
Yeah, so it's a combination. We encourage the farmers to keep livestock, because in the production of the organic manure, they should use the manure or the animal dung. Yeah, so most of the farmers that we work with, we have supported them with livestock before, and then they're using the animal dung to produce the organic manure. But they're also using some crop. Like the maize husks.
Yes.
Yeah, all that. So they combine with the manure, the animal dung, and then after 3 months, then the manures will be ready to be used.
Perfect. So yeah. I see. And we were talking just then, Peter, about, you said one of the most impactful pieces is the
demo garden.
Yes, the demo garden. Could you explain in a little more detail? Is that okay? What a demo garden is? I'll leave that there for now.
Yeah, a demo garden is like, an experimental plot.
I see.
Which is used as a practical session to the farmers, in each and every locality.
I see.
So, if, for example, our agricultural forestry officer is teaching about the efficacy of the inorganic, fertilizers, then, they can actually, demonstrate, how it works.
Perfect.
From the actual process of, making the compost manure, and then, harvesting it, and then, how it can be, applied, to the crops. And it is also worth taking note that, of late, because of, this whole issue of, climate change, the farmers can easily see a difference. If, for example, you have maybe a field 10 yards by 10 yards, and then 2 fields. One you apply organic fertilizer, and then the other one you just apply organic manure. You can actually see the 10 by 10 yards garden doing better in terms of being resilient to the harsh climatic conditions, which bring into the minds of the farmers that, well, I think this is the way to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So demo gardens have really advanced the entire process. Exactly, of adopting the sustainable agricultural practices.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If we can as well, so if we go on to the education piece, so is that working with schools around
Yes, under education program, we are working with about 36 primary schools and 4 secondary schools.
Okay.
So about 15 primary schools are in the lecture, and then about 21 they are in the upland.
I see.
But most of the key challenges that are around the education program includes the distances that learners walk to school. So that contributes to issues of high dropout. And then the other challenges are the quality of the school structures that the learners go through. Most of the schools, they have shortage of classroom blocks, and the learners usually learn under the tree, and during this rainy season it becomes a very big problem. So we have a huge number of children dropping out of school just staying in the communities because they can't manage to walk long distances. And then when they get to school, they also find the school structures in a very poor condition, and then they can't be retained in school. So you have high dropout cases, you have high absenteeism cases, and then you have also very poor pass rate by the end of the day from class 1 to the other, but also at the national exam. So the area, because of, as Peter mentioned, as poor terrain, very rough topography, it becomes very difficult to access some of the places probably provide the quality infrastructures to the different communities. So we have really supported most of the communities. Some of the communities we have constructed school blocks,
Okay.
where we have at least improved in terms of enrollment rate. But mostly we are also working with schools to improve the reading culture.
Okay.
So we have supported almost all these primary schools with library books, where learners are encouraged to go to school because they know they'll find books that they're going to use.
I see.
Yeah, so those are some of the support that we have given. But also in the secondary schools, we have supported girl learners to our school bursaries that we provide. So we are currently supporting about 28 or 27 secondary school learners with school bursaries, which will provide almost everything that they want, so that at least we can support them in terms of completing their secondary school education.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big program. I mean, you've got.
Yes, it's a big component, but as Temwa, as Kondwani has said, in the primary sector, we are trying to make a contribution in as far as early grade literacy is concerned. So we appreciate we get book donations from the book aid from the UK.
I see.
Yeah, so
Okay,
and then if we receive, for example, maybe 120 book cartons,
Okay.
then we make a distribution to various primary schools, and focusing on the young learners, we have activities like spelling bee competitions.
Okay.
Yeah, which parents would even come and listen to their words, participating in the spelling competitions. So it's one sure way of contributing to the literacy culture in Malawi. But most importantly, because as an organization we can't do everything, our major emphasis is also on the girl child.
Okay.
We work in an environment where there is rampant girl marriages. So you find that immediately a girl reaches puberty, if there is no proactive assistance in terms of school fees, school materials, then most of them tend to enter marriage at a very early age, 14, 15, 16, thereabouts. So what we have done as Temwa is that in certain special schools we have improved the sanitary conditions, because when the girls are doing their monthly menstrual periods, most of them would tend to not to go to school,
Right.
because the facilities are not all that very conducive.
I see.
So in a few schools we have improved the sanitary facilities for the girls, just to ensure that as many girls as possible attend classes and manage to finish their primary school level. So that's our main focus, the girl child.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I see. And so, just zoom out again. Is there? How big is the organisation here in Malawi? How many people work for Temwa here in Malawi?
Currently we have a staff of 28.
Okay.
Yeah, 28. So it's like 9 technical staff, and then the rest is supporting staff.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
So we are strategically located in Mzuzu, because for our new strategic plan, we've been working in Northern Katabe for more than 13 years, but would also want to grow to other districts, neighboring districts, Rumbi, Mzimba, gradual growth to the other districts where we can equally share the lessons learned from implementing our programs in
That's it. And Mzuzu is really useful, I guess, because it's Lilongwe, you have Blantyre, and Mzuzu is the third biggest city.
That's right.
I see. So you have some real connections from here to get around the country.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, grand. And then if we go into health, that's okay. Just to give us a bit of an idea on the programs in there.
Yes. When Temwa was starting, the focus was on HIV and AIDS, because by then the prevalence rate was very high. So we have had programs to do with reaching out to very difficult to reach places with mobile HIV testing and counseling services. And then we have also been supporting the HIV people living with HIV, those who have been identified through the testings that we do in those areas. So we work with them to make sure that we support them. They independently live a longer life based on the skills that they've learned from the groups that they join, and then they're supported by us. But gradually we now even went to other healthy challenges, addressing other health challenges in terms of health governance issues, where most of the communities do not have health facilities, and probably when they go to the health facilities they don't find the required healthy support in terms of drugs or medicine, or in terms of quality health services in general. So we have also gone into that. We have worked with the healthy governance structures, and also supporting the health management in health facilities. But also we have built the capacities of the relevant healthy governance structures in terms of health advisory committees, and then other staff members working in the health sector in our health facilities. In Katabe North, we have about 4 health centers. Generally, each health facility, I think, is supposed to support about 7,000 people. But if you look at the population already, with 4 facilities, that means the ratio is very, very big. Yeah, because probably one health facility can support about 15,000 people or 20,000 people. So that shows that at every point there is shortage of almost everything. The shortage of drugs, the shortage of staff, even the structures as well. So much as we cannot address all those problems, but we have been looking at the key challenges that would try to work on and reduce the burden on the health personnel in the health facility level. So that's what we have also done. But in terms of the studies, the actual figures of those who have tested, I think since 2004, I think we have gone beyond 25,000 people testing for HIV, and we have supported over 300 people living with HIV. We currently work with what we call AIDS action clubs in different communities, but they are also connected to the health facilities. So we provide monthly platforms for them to discuss and then engage with the health personnel in terms of how they can live long, in terms of how they can improve their nutrition levels. So we provide those monthly discussions with these HIV action clubs. But also we also work with the adult groups who are also HIV positive. Previously, we used to support them with materials like seeds, so that they also come up with their own gardens, and then they grow vegetables to supplement their nutrition levels. Every year we're doing that. Yeah, we have worked with about 5 groups of 25 members each group. They're still working with us up to now. Currently, we are still working on HIV testing. Like last December, we did an HIV/AIDS testing in about 4 areas. We had reached out to about 300 something people route tested, which for us I think it's a good number. But though the operation is big and the facilities are also far apart from each other, so we only went to those places where people cannot go to. But then there's too much demand for that.
Wow. Okay.
But also we, as I mentioned recently, we have also started working on water and sanitation program. Previously in the catchment area that we were working, we had some cholera cases in some spots, but also had high cases of diarrhea and dysentery.
Dysentery, yeah.
Like almost every month, a facility would record about 120 cases of diarrhea, dysentery. But when we introduced the water and sanitation program, where we provide subsidized water filters to communities, from October 2017 up to now, the figures have really reduced. Over 90% now.
Wow.
The things have really changed.
Stunning.
And we have actually now gone to other new spots again, supporting the new households in other places because of the performance that has the performance that we did in the first areas that we are working on the WASH program. So there's really great improvement in terms of reduction in the waterborne diseases in the catchment area we're working, especially during the rainy season.
Just to show you one of the photos. Last week when we were in Osisia, you see this is water from the taps.
Wow.
Look how it looks like.
Yes.
And then
Put this online.
These are the water filters that we do provide to the households. So each water filter on the market costs about £11.
Okay.
So the families buy it at a subsidized price of £5, but the money is plowed back into the community for any other micro project pertaining to improving their health sector. So you can see the difference, from colored water to clear water.
Yes, so it's brown essentially.
Exactly.
To clear.
So this is one of the projects that has really brought miracles, in the area. It was an area that was, there were frequently outbreaks of cholera, but since the introduction of these simple gadgets, it makes a huge difference in people's lives.
That is fantastic. And £5, you say? £5 for a filter.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So
Yeah.
actually, what we focus on is when we go to a village, we make sure each and every household has that.
Okay. Perfect.
So that we should not leave out a household that should not use water from the water filter. Because if they do, it will be a household that will be keeping.
Yes, of course. The disease alive.
The disease alive.
Yeah.
So generally, that's our approach. So every village we have to do the assessment. We find out how many people live in that particular area or particular village, and then against how many water filters are we going to support in that. And then we make sure we sit down with community leaders and we discuss with them, and we make sure that each and every household have access to that.
Fantastic.
But then we have huge demand for those.
I can imagine.
Because mostly in the lakeshore, people don't have the latrines because it's sand and waterlogged, so you can't dig a latrine. So usually people use just the bush and they're using the sand. So when the rainy season comes, the rains come, they just take it to the lake. But people go to the very same lake and use the water.
Nice.
So that's why every year you still have high cases of diarrhea or waterborne diseases. But with coming in of the water filter project that we are doing, it is really improving. But it's just £5.
Actually, one thing I've liked in Temwa as the CEO is the notion of value for money.
Yes.
We got a donation of like £1,000 last year.
Okay.
But with that £1,000, we are able to procure another 300 water filters. Wow. To distribute to 300 households. Which had so many positive
community changing.
Exactly. It gives us a guarantee that in the next.
So it's not really the magnitude of the amount, but how each and every pound is supposed to
Which I think is so
maximize.
crucial. Certainly
Exactly.
when so from obviously I'm English, and you get a lot of charities, and there's been cases recently with Oxfam and things like that where you think, where does my money go? It's such a big organisation. What's the end product? With Temwa, I think there's a real change. And knowing Jo a little bit, you can tell she's incredibly focused, incredibly honest, and meeting you guys and hopefully seeing the work that you guys do as well. You can tell that the end product is there's not a huge chain between where you put your money in and the end product, as you would do with Oxfam and the bigger charities. With Temwa, it's 2 or 3 people in between, So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So under which we make sure we work with in close relation to our colleagues from the government, from the health facility,
I see.
so that we're able to track all the beneficiaries from their households to the facility.
Perfect.
So we know that in this village, in this month, there have been cases that have been reported at the health center. So the health facility will give us a report to say, this month in village X, there has been no cases reported from there. And then they will compare to a village where we are not providing water filters. They'll be like, this village where you're not working, there have been 100 or 40 or 70 cases of diarrhea or waterborne disease, which is totally different from the villages that are working in.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So bringing statistics and you can find trends in the data as well.
Yeah, but I'm also fascinated with the fact that with the £5 you buy a water filter, you support a family for the next 3 years. You are assured of very short little cases of waterborne disease being registered in that particular household. Because if the cost of supporting them where they are at the hospital with the waterborne disease becomes very high than the one that you're using to buy water filter. Yeah, because when you go to a health center, you have to walk like the way it is. You have to come from Musiska to Mzuzu. To and fro is almost 5,000 already, 6,000. And then when you are here, you have to go to a government hospital. Maybe you find there will be no medicine there. You have to go to a private hospital, and then you buy. So when you are going back, you have almost 10,000 spending on any diarrhea case that you have won. So it's easy to have a water filter at £5 and then saving yourself for the next 3 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So the longevity costs come right down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the way I would also really want to make sure that we work with almost all the households that are along the lakeshore in our catchment area. Because I think it's from somewhere down in Katube up to somewhere up next to Rumpi to Mlowe. So the whole of this population is at risk because they are close to the lake.
I see.
Yeah. But also in the upland as well, there are also a lot of waterborne diseases cases as well, because there are no water taps. So water they get from the wells, from the rivers, from the dams. So it's not protected. Yeah. So there's demand both in the lakeshore and in the upland.
Fantastic. So sanitation have you found to be one of the breakthrough sort of changes over the last few months?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It is.
And how is you have 28 staff. How is that broken between? Is there a focus on? Is there an agriculture team? Is there a health team? How does it work in the organisation? Just out of interest.
Yes, we have the programs team and then the administration. But from the programs, each program has the specific staff. So agriculture and forestry has the agriculture and forestry coordinator, and then we have project officers, and then we have field officers. We have area field coordinators because we have upland area and the lakeshore area.
I see.
Yeah, and then we have at some point we used to work with what we used to call extension volunteers from each and specific village. Yeah, and then under education we also have the same. We have education staff in Zuzu office, and then also education staff in the Usiska office. We're also covering the communities surrounding Usiska. Yeah, and then under health they also have the same. So each and every program has its own team.
I see.
But all these, like under programs, they all report to me, and also in line with their responsible supervisors.
I see. And how does the dynamic between the Malawi team and the UK team, how does that work?
Okay, we have frequent meetings between the senior management team from Malawi with fellow senior management team from the UK.
I see.
Almost every month. But besides the senior management teams, me as the CEO in Malawi, I've got monthly meetings again with my counterpart in the UK.
I see.
And then similarly we have the finance and administration manager in Malawi who also has frequent meetings with the with the firm in the UK. And then the Malawi board, when it is having a meeting, like we had the budget meeting last Saturday,
I see.
there is always a trustee from the UK who joins through Skype.
Okay.
Yes, so there is really
a lot of communication.
Yes, a lot of communication, between the two teams. Yes.
Hey.
We're actually having an SMT meeting tomorrow with the Malawi team and the UK team.
Oh, cool.
I'm also having a programs meeting with a UK programs person today at 2 p.m.
Oh, you know.
So we
Yes, there's always you're always
we
talking.
each other every day.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Even fundraising or how we should talk to the donors. We always have to link up at every point.
Perfect. Yeah. That's fantastic. In terms of
But maybe let me also share you one of the other challenges that I really feel as Temwa we also have to do a lot more.
Please. Yeah.
You see the issue of population boom in Malawi. We are sitting on a time bomb. Malawi is a very small country if you compare with our neighbors. Zambia is 13 times bigger than Malawi. Zimbabwe is 9 times bigger than Malawi. But Malawi's population overshadows, the Zambian population, just like the Zimbabwean population. Yeah. So the issue of sexual reproductive health rights will be very, very, very critical to orient, the young folks on how they can adopt, the modern methods of, protecting themselves from, early pregnancies and such stuff. Otherwise, the current, population statistics have shocked everybody to say, Malawi we are close to 18 million. 18 million. And that's not really sustainable. No, that's not really sustainable. So that's one area where I think, we really have to do all what we can to really emphasize, the folks. Or the more why we really want to do a lot on girls' education, because the more time they spend in school, it delays them to enter the families, and then consequently it will delay them, to bear children, and it has a long positive effect of minimizing the population.
And
so,
also, and then the education as well that comes with that extra time.
Exactly.
It allows them to become more educated.
Yeah.
I see. And so is that your view as well in terms of the biggest challenges facing Malawi as a whole? Have you got, is agriculture also a big issue? Or?
It is.
I see.
It is. Because you see, the government has a program which they call subsidized farm inputs.
Okay.
Where every year in the Malawi budget, the government allocates billions of Malawi kwacha just to subsidize on fertilizers. But there is no transparency and accountability. Most of that money is abused. So you find that year in, year out, we still have a lot of Malawians who go hungry, especially during the lean months of January, February, March, and April. These are the most critical months in Malawi, when most of the households, literally, run out of food.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and because our farming system has not yet been heavily mechanized, it's still at the subsistence level. So the production per hectare doesn't compare favorably with countries like maybe South Africa, where they have really mechanized the agriculture, and then the yield per hectare is much more compared to the yield in Malawi. So the current population boom vis-a-vis trends in agriculture, I think we still have a lot of work to do.
I see.
Yeah.
It's become sort of. So a big. In terms of Malawians leaving Malawi, so I know a lot of Malawians go to South Africa or Cape Town to get money and work and send that back to Malawi. Is that because the job market here, unemployment, is that a big thing here in Malawi as well? And is that?
It is.
Yeah. So
it is.
What's the government's plan? Do you know if the government have a strategy for keeping more Malawians in work or keeping more Malawians in the country?
We have a government, which sometimes has conflict policies. Whereas it would say we want to create, more jobs for the youth, but the reality on the ground is very different. There has been a lot of abuse of state resources, which could have gone into very critical areas like maybe youth employment, promoting alternative sources of clean energy. The few days you may have been in Malawi, maybe you may have experienced so many blackouts. But here is a country where we have plenty of sunshine, and you look at the solar industry. I think we have a huge potential to invest in the solar industry. So many graduates who even studied electrical engineering at the University of Malawi, they end up just teaching in the rural areas because they cannot be absorbed into meaningful sectors.
I see.
Yeah, so these are big challenges.
Huge challenges, and I guess they sit at the top level.
Exactly. Because even we don't have so many doctors in Malawi. But even the few doctors whom we train ourselves, if the government can spend a year without absorbing them into our health system, that speaks volumes about the readiness of the government to absorb the new graduates coming up from the different colleges. Yeah.
So their option now becomes that they should just go to either South Africa or Tanzania. So in Ngarambe North, most of the young people go to South Africa, but also to Tanzania.
You can imagine the 2017 cohort of the Malawi doctors, because the government delayed them, the government of Lesotho took 68.
No.
I'm telling you.
Lesotho,
yes. They took all our 68 doctors. I mean, you see, it's very expensive to train the doctors, and here was the government who had spent billions to train them, 7 years, and they graduate, they stay for a year without work. What do you expect?
Okay.
Actually, even 10, 15 years ago, there was this funny statistics that in the city of Manchester alone, there were more Malawian doctors than the whole Malawi.
No.
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy, huh?
Very crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, very crazy. Wow. Yeah.
So so obviously there's a presidential election coming this year.
Yes.
Yes. The candidates, they're good candidates. Is there anyone?
Mixed bag.
Mixed bag, as always, I guess.
Mixed bag.
Which candidate are you leaning towards, if you don't mind me asking?
Honestly, we would want a complete overhaul.
Okay.
Yeah. We would really want, a leader who has not been in the government, let's say, for the past maybe 10, 15, 20 years.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so...
A clean, fresh start.
Yeah,
almost.
clean, fresh start. A leader who can, deal with the corruption in a big way, deal with, meaningful reforms. I've been talking a lot about agriculture. Malawi, we have the third fresh water body on the African continent. And yet, we cannot, have massive irrigation projects along our lake, let alone along our, biggest river, which, drains water from the lake, to the Indian Ocean. So we would really want a leader who can, transform Malawi. Because, the resources are there, the natural resources are there. It's just the political will to say we don't want, business as usual. Can we, and like I for one, it pains me, I've been to Rwanda several times. This is a country that was involved in one of the most atrocious, genocides on the planet. But it's like, they said, enough is enough. And you go there now, it's a completely, different country altogether. And in Malawi, we have never been at war. We have never been at war. There are few African countries,
Yes, very true.
which have enjoyed, relatively peace for more than 60 plus years. But we have not really, put that to, development, use. So that's why for me, I'm really looking forward to a leader who can really say, well, enough is enough. Let us turn, this Malawi
Change around. Fascinating. So briefly, previous to joining Temwa, what was your role? What did you do before Temwa? If you don't mind me asking.
In my case, before I joined Temwa, I was working with HIVOS. HIVOS is a Netherlands-based organization.
I see.
Yeah, so I was coordinating a women's empowerment program for Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So I was coordinating the three countries.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was quite, an experience because it also gave me an international experience on how to coordinate, a program within the very same, Southern African, countries. It was very rewarding, very enriching. Yeah, so
Before that, and going back, you're from Malawi, I take it.
Then before I joined HIVOS, I also worked for Dan Church Aid.
Okay.
This is also an organization from Denmark, and I was the head of programs in Malawi, what Kondwani is doing in Temwa.
I see.
Yeah, so, but I was also responsible for Malawi and Zambia as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we are also looking after the Zambian office. But for 15 years in my civil service, in my civil society work, I was with the Justice and Peace Commission. Yeah, where at least I was mainly involved in the issues of governance. So I was like, the mouthpiece of the people in Malawi. I've been beaten by the police several times. At one moment, the police even, I fractured my left arm.
No.
Because the work in the Justice and Peace Commission was mainly, advocacy, speaking on behalf of the people.
Yeah.
So that's where, I spent most of my,
So you finished school and then went into
when I went to the UK, one of the things that, colleagues in the UK could hardly understand was that, as a final young student, I wrote a poem pertaining to the hockey ground, and I was suspended from college because of that poem. Come and mend. That poem became so famous, you can even Google it on the internet.
Oh please, yes.
Come and mend.
Come and mend.
Yes,
okay.
Come and mend.
I will check it out.
So I had to go in hiding for 5 months, and then a certain good priest from Ireland pushed me to Rome in Italy. So I was in exile in Rome for 4 years.
It's a whole new podcast. Jesus, Peter, this is crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you need to take it, Peter, feel free.
No, it's
Feel
okay.
free.
It's just, yeah.
So you're born. Sorry, Kondwani, we will come back. I promise. This is too good. So, you're born here in Malawi.
Yes.
Peter. Whereabouts?
In Mzimba.
Okay.
Here in the north, yeah.
And then you went to school here as well?
Yeah, it's a school here in the north, and then I did my college in the south.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And then you moved. When did you write the poem? That was
In 1989.
1989.
1989.
And you were in the UK then, or
No,
that was
it
here? Okay,
that
you were
was
here.
in Malawi, yes.
And then you
Yeah.
met the Irish
Yes.
priest here as well.
Yes. I was in hiding here in Zuzu for 4 months.
Wow.
I was put in a room, could not see the sun for 4 months.
No.
During the Kamuzanda
I
government.
had to change my name to get a passport, and wow, even the time I left the airport, I said, wow, I'm leaving to Malawi.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and the poem was, I guess, trying to speak for the people and saying this is
Yes,
right.
there was
what's
a
going on.
powerful women's organization that had its meeting at the university, and they damaged our hockey field. It was
Okay.
a very well-tended field. So I was like, you came here, you did ABC, and then I would finish my stanza with come and mend.
I see.
You came here, you did ABC, and then I would finish come and mend. So
I'll do a link.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the organization was CCAM.
Ah.
yes.
Well done. That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put a link on here so people can read your poem. That's
Right,
fantastic.
that's right.
Okay, and then so 4 months later, you're in
Then I was in
Italy.
Italy, yes. So
And what was happening in Italy?
good enough, at least they enrolled me in one of the colleges in Rome, so I finished my first degree there. I also studied for my master's. Posso parlare italiano correttamente. I can speak Italian fluently up to now, Yeah, so
What was the degree? What was your master's?
education.
I see.
Yeah, education.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So you graduate in Italy?
Yes.
And you're sponsored just through
Yes, after just a year in Italy, the Vatican, gave me an open scholarship.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So you graduate with a master's in Italy?
In Italy. Yeah.
And you stay in Italy for a while? Or?
No, because the one who was sponsoring me, he said, you started this work, you have to go back and continue fighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you come back?
I came back, joined the Justice and Peace Commission, continued fighting.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you had 15 years back here then?
Yes, exactly.
In that
Exactly.
commission.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and that was difficult in terms of. So it's a government organisation.
No, it's faith-based.
Ah.
Yeah, faith-based. Yeah.
Eish.
Yeah.
So it's-
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's a whole other podcast, I think. Yeah. So we'll come back to you on that one, Kondwani. Is it Peter? Okay, Kondwani.
Yes.
And yourself. Born and raised
Yeah,
here.
born and raised in Malawi. I did my secondary school here in Malawi, in Zuzu, and then college in the central region, in Lilongwe. And then I came back here. I started working in the hospital before
Okay.
in Mulanje.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I joined the civil society around 2007, somewhere there.
Okay.
I just got back from Botswana then.
You were in Botswana for.
For 2 to 3 years, I used to do school and work there as well. And then when I came here, I joined an organization at the CCP Snowball Livingstone there. I worked there for almost 5 years as a project officer, project manager, programs manager. And then I stopped.
Huh?
I joined, I implemented a program under Save the Children for a period, and then I also stopped. Then I started doing my own things.
Okay.
As a more of a consultant, I was doing some projects, and then that's when I joined Temwa.
Okay. Okay.
So then previous I joined Temwa as a consultant, and then I joined full time as a program manager.
Brilliant. So what kind of consultant work were you?
Previously, my focus were on child protection programs. We are doing the child rights kind of programs in Zimba South, Ruinfield, Zuzu, and then Nkatabe district. But then I was not doing Nkatabe North, I was doing Nkatabe West, but also in Karonga. So had implemented projects in child marriages in Karonga. They were being funded by HIVOS. We implemented the projects in governance.
Okay.
Healthy governance as well. They've been funded by an organization called Sinavi from Netherlands.
Okay.
And also school governance project also implemented by OSISA, being supported by OSISA from South Africa.
Okay.
A number of key programs that have been implemented with different donors at different times.
I mean, your records alone, in terms of the amount of organisations and the amount of countries you've touched, is bloody impressive.
But most importantly, I think what has been important for me is working for my communities in the northern region, because the challenges that are around, I have grown up with them. So I have a deeper understanding of working with my communities around, because I understand the very same problems would have probably rendered me into not being where I am today.
Fantastic.
So it becomes very easy to really have a focus on what you're doing, and then also looking at how best you can improve the lives of others, because at least yours is improved now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you have a real connection to the work that Temwa's doing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So in short, that's what I would say.
That's great. That is phenomenal. And well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And as I say, it would be great. I'm here for another 3 weeks, so if possible, it would be really awesome.
You just link with Kondwani, so
I'll
that
keep connected with you,
so that you can.
I'll probably share with you the program that we can make. I'm not really sure which days you can be comfortable.
So I think let me liaise with you on that one. I'll let you know. But are you thinking? Because I know Joe mentioned maybe Usisia around there.
Yes.
Is that probably one of the better ones to go?
It's rainy season this time, so sometimes, as you mentioned, the shortest period you can get to Usisia is 2 hours. But during this rainy season, we can take as long as 4.
Okay.
Bear with me because the road is a bit rough, and that's one key major challenge that we have currently. Our program implementation requires very strong vehicles because of the conditions of the roads that we use. Basically, around January and February and March becomes really, really tough.
I can imagine.
That's why most of the organizations or even government institutions, they don't really go to this place because they know how much hard it is to get to this place.
Wow.
So you may be surprised that, but Peter said 2 hours, but now it's almost 4 hours.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on that.
It will depend on how the day will be.
I see.
If it be raining, it will really be tough. But at least if it's a bit dry, you can probably go. So I'll probably come up with a program and share with you. You can visit agriculture forestry, and then education, also water and sanitation, as well as maybe health facility.
That'd be unbelievable. Like I say, it'd be,
some of the challenges that these people meet in the communities are very. You look at it like a facility would not have even a BB machine. They would not even have a scale. You go there, they don't test anything on you. They just prescribe something on you. But you're looking at the cost of maybe a BB machine is £7, but the whole facility does down.
Wow.
So we may take you to one of the facilities. You learn from them. Then we also. So I'll come up with a program and then share that with you.
Amazing.
So you can be able to know what we're going to do.
Anything I can do to help, it'd be fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
I'll leave you with my card.
Yes, please.
Sometimes you communicate on emails.
Amazing. Thank you, Peter. That's brilliant.
So most definitely it will be next week, right?
I think next week or maybe the week after. I'll throw some dates across and I'll see.
We had our program next week. We are planning to have a reporting training session for the programs team. So we might have it a day or two.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to really know whether it's next week or the.
Honestly, I can be a little flexible and whatever works for you. I don't want to be in anyone's way. So
I'll keep in touch.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Any messages for this? Hopefully, we will be back in the UK. So any messages for the people out there in terms of? I guess we've already spoken about the work you guys are doing, and I guess £5 goes a hell of a long way. Yes, no doubt. Well, thank you both once again.
£5 goes a long way.
Pleasure, no
And
doubt.
we're a very transparent and accountable organization.
No doubt, no, you can tell. And we'll get Jo on the podcast, and we'll get her to do it as well.
All right.
Thank you. Bankwood Bear Productions.
Cheap and chill.